Have you ever pondered this? We can connect across oceans from our own beds, yet we are facing a literal loneliness epidemic. The more our awareness grows, the darker and more isolating the world seems to become. Some even wander the night's shadows, waiting for whispers of the long gone just to find a tangible shred of memory in the universe. My name is Dakota Frandsen. I'm not here to prove the supernatural is real or to tell you how to live. I am here to offer a wake-up call. I've witnessed fascinating things, but instead of grasping at threads, asking if ghosts or UFOs are out there, maybe the question we should be asking is, are we truly unknown?
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Dakota Frandsen. I gotta admit, these episodes I've been recording have inadvertently been a hell of a lot more personal than I was anticipating. Now, granted, to be honest, I was never really against the idea of trying to put on some sort of public persona for a show, if it works. But honestly, for me, whether it's because I got to do an interview with some big name author or expert, or just got to have a one-on-one conversation with a mentor, or even just a friend who started to catch on to a little bit too much of personal matters. Those conversations, those moments always hit deeper for me. Because more often than not, those moments of connection feel rare. Towards the beginning of the show, I often expressed, I think not just the beginning of the show, but of this episode, just the show in general, as a matter of fact, I expressed how a guy like me, who isn't exaggerating about being 6'7", over 300 pounds, bald and a goatee, is often seen as intimidating. Like someone you wouldn't want to piss off. And for quite some time I held that reputation. I even leaned into it. During my paranormal investigation days, where the kind of cases I took on started to hint at some honestly, truly devastating human elements, or my brief stint as a bounty hunter. Yes, Dakota the bounty hunter. Ha ha. For those of you who are fans of dog, you might find the irony in that. But even when fully justified in leaning into this notion, leaning into this gruff, tough guy, able to take a bullet and still keep fighting persona. There's a part of you that gets lost. A part of you that, perhaps on some level I argue, gets a little twisted when you take on high voltage careers, high stress avenues, whether it be military service, law enforcement, nursing, whatever the case may be. Technically, with bounty hunting, even though it was more of a freelance position, and in my state, the legal requirements in order to do it was just that I had to live here. That is technically considered an arm of law enforcement. But as I was saying, often in those types of situations, in those types of careers, we find ourselves becoming twisted to where if you do not develop some sort of coping mechanism, you may end up risk being found at the bottom of a bottle, or worse. Anybody who has loved ones in these sorts of careers, you already know what I'm talking about. There's a morbidity in their sense of humor. And for those of you who have been part of that life, whether you just grew up around it, took part in it, there's a certain level of appreciation when you find others who share that notion. But also in the same light, that sense of connection ultimately feeds into something that I wanted to talk about for this episode. And that's the concept of love. Now I can probably hear some of you in the audience going, fuck off. I may like to make jokes from time to time. I like to draw from my own personal experience, things I'm going through in life. Well, that's just so you know I'm real. More often than not, unless there is something going on, the person you see when I do my appearances is the same person you'll likely meet in public. And that is honestly something that takes a lot of training in order to maintain. But in the end, what makes being able to even do that possible, once again, falls back to love. Now, there's actually been a couple people who already asked me, so Dakota, is death of the specialist caused by a loved one? Not in the way you might be thinking. And I'll get to that in a minute. Because love in itself, it's not just about romance. In this time we find ourselves in, where we have the concepts of AI companions, and people feeling more comfortable expressing themselves over, social media, live streams, podcasts, when you really strip it down, really think about it, there's often two things that most find themselves trying to supplement in their life: a source of connection and source of purpose. And love has a very funny way of making it so the two often intersect. And individuals who I've been lucky enough to consider mentors, some by proxy, but still mentors, often teach this, often speak this. But you can read about it in novels, watch about it on TV. You're not going to know damn anything until you've been a part of it. What do I mean by that? Let's take an example that everybody's going to have to cringe through at some point in their life, unless you're one of the ones who was born into lucky 1%ers that are evil and destroying the world. Chances are you all had to take on jobs that weren't necessarily things you wanted to do in life. But because you have bills to pay, maybe you have a couple kids, mouths to feed, pets, that's just how our world is right now. And you're just doing what you need to do to survive. And maybe you're the type of person who's happy going through their life like that. Not really wanting to accomplish much. Comfortable where you're at. And there is a certain kind of grace for those of you lucky enough to be in that position. But more often than not, most people find themselves having to chase more of something. More time at work to have a better paycheck. But here's the thing. The more time you have at work, the less time you have at home. If you somehow manage to have more money in your pocket, you'll feel happier. But in truth, when you have that money, but you don't have anybody to spend the only currency that actually matters with, you don't have people with you to spend your time on. Maybe spoil a little bit with that money. Is that money actually going to matter? Sure, you may decide to give a good chunk of it away to charity, and you get that sense of warmth, that you're doing something right, doing something good in the world. And perhaps if you're lucky enough to see the actual effects, you feel satisfied in the heart. But again, what does that sight feed into? Connection. I'm reminded of a short little interview I did back when I was still in school. Nothing big, it was just for the yearbook. They wanted to interview some of the more interesting students, and being the school's paranormal expert, as it often went around for those who didn't try to cling on to the Dean Winchester parallels, I was on that list. There was a question they asked. I can't remember the kid's name who interviewed me. But the question was, what was something in this life that you cannot live without? And I simply said, love, laughter, and music. Because when those three elements truly, truly come together, that's when you truly live. And it's right there in the English spelling of it. To truly live in this life, you find yourself trying to rise up to a point where you feel like you have truly done good, that even on your worst of days, and that nothing can take you down, but with love, that is emotion that helps keep things going. Because when you're just out there to live, there's going to come a point where if you're not careful, what some may consider a concept of living is actually isolated. But with love, there's always constant motion. Things change. There's highs, there's lows, there's ups and downs. And it's honestly a notion that I found myself being tested on recently. And yeah, I'll get to it here soon. Perhaps another example that I can give you right now. The year was about 2015, if I remember correctly. I was barely a year out of high school. My main job was working the deli department at the local Walmart. I didn't want to work at Walmart. I tried to avoid it with every last breath of my body because of the things I've seen go on in Walmart. But it was a job. It helped me keep afloat as I was trying to figure out my place in the world. And when it came to my bounty hunting days, most of the marks that I went to look for, all I had to do was show up for work and wait. And eventually they would walk right by. See, about springtime 2015, God, I can't believe it's been that long ago. I took on one of my very first international trips. See, one of the teachers at the high school I went to, he organized these annual spring break trips to just any place on the globe, practically. And in order to kind of gather people for this group, he would ask teachers in the school to help nominate certain kids, and I was on that list. Now, naturally, going to China, ooh, exciting, the Great Wall, going to see all these exotic places. I mean, that just felt like I was living, man. And honestly, to tell you the fucking truth,
a deadly kiss. Dragon rise with bloodied hand, wrath unleashed across the land. No mercy in the silent scream, vigilante in the darkest dream. Crimson streets under pale moon's gaze, ashes fall in the southern blaze. Cloaked in sorrow, waging war, dragon's fury to the core. Whispers call upon the wind, justice sworn can be rescinded. Nightmare shakes beneath the veil, dragon's vengeance will prevail. Dragon rise with bloodied hand, wrath unleashed across the land. No mercy in the silent scream, vigilante in the darkest dream. Darkest dream. Battles rage in a burning haze. Los Angeles in the twisted days. Nightmare falls with broken crown. Dragon's fire brings him down.
Working at that place, Walmart. The stress of it, man. You know how many Walmart employees are actually actively attending therapy because of how soul-sucking that place is? And it's by design, too, I can tell you that. Managerial positions, you want to know what the genuine advice for is that if you try to move up, become like a supervisor, manager, it might have changed you a little bit since I worked there, but the genuine advice that would go through the grapevine is don't answer like you would answer. Answer like an asshole. That place just felt soul-sucking, man. I didn't want to be there, but I didn't really have much else to me as far as job ability. I was attending courses. I was doing all this other stuff. But that was the only position I could really get my hands on, and that was mostly because I had my grandma, I had a couple uncles, I had my auntie, my stepmother. Yes, for those of you who listened to the other episodes, that stepmother. Even my stepmother's mother, We all worked together at Walmart at some point. That was the main reason I got in. I had people vouching for me. And sure, I was thankful to have the job, have a source of money come in. Because obviously I was dating. And dating's kind of expensive. Obviously, I still wanted to, buy my own things while I was trying to figure out what the hell I wanted to do with life. But honestly, I came to a state quite often working there that I almost found myself age regressing mentally. And I know a lot of younger people who had to go live back home because of the pandemic can possibly relate to this. And it's not a good feeling, is it? To feel like you're moving backwards in life. And I'm going to be honest with you. There was points where working that job felt like such a dead end that I had thoughts of harming myself again. And when I had this China trip, something about this trip, there just was this voice that kept going inside my head to say, Dakota, just make it to China. Just make it to China and you'll see. And that voice was persistent enough to where I listened. I saved up the money. Got my first passport. Yeah. I just barely got renewed. I set aside the money. We made the payments on the trip. Even opted in for the extra little insurance, even though I was initially against the idea, and you'll find out why me not giving in to that idea was probably the best call here soon. Then eventually time came. There was a little bit of a issue in getting the visa sorted out, because you got to get a visa in order to get into China, or at least from here in the U.S. Because they found out about the Chinese government found out about my public pursuits, that I was an author. And, well, I guess China wanted to keep an eye on anybody who would speak negatively. And truthfully, I don't really have much negative to say. Perhaps it was the sensation of jet lag, but the gentleman and I who got buddied up as roommates on that trip, his name was Lucas. We both kind of, when we got to our hotel, obviously jet lagged, because dear Lord, that was a long flight. The feeling didn't settle until we got there, got to our hotel room, got to bed, and woke up the next morning and looked outside our window as, holy crap, we're in China. We are living, buddy! We are living! In fact, there were points where people, obviously, who had not really traveled before, much like myself, my old teacher, he kind of was telling everybody this who started to show that they were a little nervous about being in a foreign country. He would look at us and say, you know what? Yeah, it is kind of scary to do this, but guess what? Now when you get to go home, how many people do you actually know can say that they are going to do what we're about to do on this trip? We were going to go check out fancy restaurants. We were going to go do a little painting. We got to understand why the warnings about the air quality were compared to smoking 10 packs of cigarettes a day. But all in all, we got to have this amazing trip. And I was nervous as hell because the only person I actually somewhat knew that went on this trip was my old psychology teacher, Mr. Parsons. And somehow you go to hear this. Hi, how you doing? Hope you and the family are doing well, my friend. Our first stop was in Beijing, which was just absolutely amazing. I could not believe some of the things we got to see there. And for me, the trip got a little weird. We were just leaving the Forbidden City. And one of the things they tell you when you go to China is beware of the vendors, because they are persistent. And some of them will try to scam you. Don't make eye contact. I think the one phrase all of us who went on this trip remember best is "wo bu yao," which means I don't want, and "xie xie," which means thank you in Mandarin. And I think I can speak confidently that most of us only remember those phrases because that is what we use the most. Because dear Lord, they were persistent. I believe it was just outside the Forbidden City. We were just walking outside of the temples, and there was a bunch of these bridges we were crossing just to try to get to our bus so we can head on to our next activity for the day. And there was this little old guy who, as my friend Fluffy, not really a friend, but he's been following me on Twitter for some time, would compare, in one of his specials, he would use the term special circumstance. He was very much special needs type of individual. And that was a bit of a tactic to get those kind of people just out into public and engaging with the world. We were walking by, we were passing him, and he was just a sweet old guy. He wasn't meaning any harm. All of a sudden, I go to pass by him. I see him look up slightly, reach his hand out, and start rubbing my stomach. I'm not 100% sure what he said, but I say, "Oh, da puta! Puta!" And some of the older ladies that were on the trip, the mothers that came with their kids, they saw this. The guy's handler saw this. They saw my eyeballs practically pop out of my skull. I'm just like, what the? Needless to say, ladies, for those of you who have had kids and had that strange feeling of people just randomly rubbing your belly, I think I understand the awkwardness. And it took me a moment to really register what just happened. And some of the people in the group saw it and they were like, Dakota, you okay? And I'm just like, did he just call me Buddha? And needless to say, with these trips, they were more so geared towards high school students, and naturally high school students did as high school kids do. Word got around, and it became a little bit of a running joke for the rest of the trip. And my teacher's wife, she made a remark that she was kind of surprised I was being a good sport about it. And was like, well, I'll admit it's a little weird, but I got to thinking about it. I'm essentially being called a god. And how could I take that offensive? And that became a little bit of a running joke. Because for those of you who don't know, you get the laughing Buddha, the big fat one. You're supposed to, rub his belly for good luck, make a wish, and if it comes true, you offer coin, give some sort of offering, usually just some little bit amount of money, as a thank you. So, needless to say, if I was just able to find myself some big old earrings and a nice little robe and just stick my big old dad bod belly out, I probably could make a killing. But the luck of that trip didn't exactly go well. It was our last day in Beijing. We had breakfast at our hotel. Then we had to hit the airport to catch a flight from Beijing to Xi'an. Because one of the big activities we had planned for Xi'an was to go see the Terracotta Warriors. Now, we had a few stops to go on before we hit the airport, and we went through our activities, and slowly something started to shift within the group. One by one, it wasn't just people from my school. When it came to this company, it's called Education First Tours, and if you ever have a chance to go on one of these trips, I highly recommend it. And this is not a paid sponsorship. This is a legit endorsement from the heart. We got paired up with this other group out of California. Very nice people. We all got along amazingly. Some of us, we still keep in contact to this day, more or less. But some of the girls that were in the California group, they started to get sick, physically ill, throwing up. Our tour guide initially said, "Oh, it's the culture shock. It happens all the time. Don't worry, you'll be okay." Our tour guide's name was Daniel, or at least that was his American name. He, he tried to be there, tried to be supportive, but then more and more people started to feel a little sick. And it just kept going and going. Our tour guide was like, "Oh, I've seen this happen before. It's a little extreme, but I'm sure it's just culture shock. It happens. And I wouldn't necessarily call myself the squeamish type, but then eventually Big Dakota started to feel a little woozy. It's like, oof, should probably be careful. I'm starting to feel a little something, but I'm okay. Guys, you know that sensation where you start to feel like something's up, but you don't want to seem weak, so you're just like, "Oh, okay, I'm okay. I'm good. I tried that. We got to the hotel in Beijing to catch our flight to Xi'an. I started to feel that wooziness in my stomach. I was like, okay, maybe it's just the culture shock, I'll get myself something to drink. That'll be nice and drink. There was a vending machine obviously the exchange rates between the US and China really went into my favor. I got myself a drink, thinking it was just some sort of Chinese Coke. It was not Coke. It was some kind of tea. And I'm an American, so I like sweet tea. The taste did not settle right. The tea did not settle in my belly. No. Some kind of black tea. I'm not sure what kind. But I drank it. We got on the plane. We all started to feel a little woozy. I had a couple of the girls from the California trip sitting next to me. And as we started to hit our approach to Xi'an, Dakota started to sweat a little bit. He wasn't feeling all that good. And the mother was sitting literally 2 seats from me, which, a little side note, I found kind of funny that Chinese airlines had more leg room, which matters for someone like me, had more leg room than fucking here in the US. I digress. I was laying up my head on the seat in front of me, starting to get cold sweats. People were handing me bags. They're like, he's not gonna make it. Something's going on. And I started to zone out a little bit. Because apparently, a couple of the guys behind me were part of my group. They were also feeling it. Then we started to hit descent. And I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, without going into too much graphic detail, in case you are trying to eat when you are listening to this show, heed my warning. When Dakota tends to get sick, it's not a small ordeal. And 6 of us went down on that plane, all at once. We all started becoming violently ill as we went down. I don't even remember walking off the plane. I had my stuff. We got to the hotel, and not the hotel, the airport. And it took us, to make a long story short, it took us 6 hours to get out of that airport, because finally even the tour guide was like, this is not good. This is not culture shock. This is something else. And those of us who were still sick and feeling it, we got taken to the hospital, while the rest of the group got taken to the hotel. We were admitted, and dear Lord, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, as someone who will never deny the fact that he has had white coat syndrome for most of his life due to being in and out of the hospital at a young age, the conditions in the medical facilities in China, and this was supposed to be one of the better ones, because the tour guides, part of their job is that they actually physically go out to these facilities and sort of inspect them, so that when they had groups come through, they know how to get them to the best ones. The best restaurants, best hospitals, better hotels, things like that, to make sure the quality was good. Imagine losing bodily fluids in a squatter toilet. You're thousands of miles away from home, in a foreign country where hardly anybody speaks the same language as you, and hospital staff that are so understaffed, and under-equipped, especially for a sudden influx of Americans, that bedside manners didn't exactly exist. I kept getting yelled at in Mandarin. They tried to figure out what was going on, couldn't figure it out. Eventually they hooked us all up to saline bags. We all sat in this large sort of waiting room area. And for those of you who don't believe me about this story, somewhere out there is footage of this incident, because some random Chinese dude started filming us. I was in and out of consciousness the entire time. When you go to sleep and you get that jerk, I had an IV line inside of me, and every time I would go to that jerk, when I started to pass out, the IV line would fall, and the nurses would start yelling at me, even though I didn't understand what they were saying. Not because I was out of it, because my Mandarin was not that good. I don't know why my voice just went high like that, but it emphasizes the point. Hours went by when we were still hooked up on this bag. The girls that were sitting next to me on the plane, and their mom, they actually all borrowed my jacket to help keep themselves warm while we were all waiting. And they were a bunch of little Hispanic gals, so my jacket to them was practically like a king-size comforter, especially in that time. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this was one of the scariest experiences of my life, which is saying something considering everything I've shared before. Thousands of miles away from home, not exactly with anybody I really personally knew. Hours went by, and nothing was really happening with the hospital staff and the tour guide and everybody else. We just wanted the hell out of there. But there was a problem. The hospital wanted money. They were not going to let us go until someone paid up. We were held ransom. And yes, while we all had the insurance with us, that was mostly for us to get reimbursed for any emergency expenses we had to spend while we were overseas. Not necessarily for covering these types of incidents. And not to make myself out to be a hero, but the situation became that nobody had any Chinese money on them. And in one of my more lucid moments, I could overhear the conversation about the money. I heard they were saying, "Oh, nobody has money on them right now. Nobody has them. How? No. They didn't realize Dakota did. And I wanted the fuck out of there, man. So I heard them talking, and I heard about the total. I quietly pulled out my wallet, started counting. Because they were standing a few feet away from me. Probably didn't even realize I was aware of them at the time. I grabbed the money out of my wallet, which was more than enough to cover the bills for everybody else. And just for reference sake, I don't remember the exact amount in Chinese yuan, but in US dollars, the total bill for everybody there was like a little bit over $80. So like I said, the exchange rate went well in our favor for that particular trip. I had the money on me. And when I heard what was going down, I was like, we cannot stay here. I pulled out the money and handed it. They're like, "Dakota, what are you doing?" "Use that for you." He's like, "How much do we need? How much do we need to get everybody out here?" They told me the amount, and I'm just like, "Here. There's more than enough." They're like, "Are you sure? Dakota, really? Are you sure? You know, that's your money. You use that for you." It's like, do it. This isn't good. They're like, we'll make sure everybody pays you back. It's like, no, don't. You want to pay me back? Get us the hell out of here. I didn't use that language because that can get you in trouble in China. And we didn't want to make any more episodes. It's like, you want to pay me back? Get us out of here. And I'm calling it good. I effectively paid the ransom for us. I didn't want any thanks. I wasn't trying to be a hero. I just wanted out of there. Don't get me wrong. As someone who didn't exactly have a lot of friends growing up, I started to grow a bit attached to these people. Especially after this trip. As we all started to gain our strength back slowly, love was there, which was pretty handy because the following morning, when we were all back at our hotel and starting to try in Xi'an and went down to try to get a little bit of breakfast, the next thing thing I remember is that everybody looked like Simpsons characters. We were just jaundiced and frail. I think I lost like almost 50 pounds just because of what happened. But ultimately, that experience became a form of trauma bonding. We all became very close because of it. And towards the end of the trip, we started to head to Shanghai, or Shanghai, as they pronounce it over there. I could not stop bawling. Because that was the first time in a while that I had felt kindness, love, and just simple adventure. And the words that came out of my mouth were, I'm going to live. I'm going to make it. I was going to use the China trip as one last hurrah. A victory lap, if you will. Before I made the final decision to take my own life. But that trip saved me. It took me a few months to get my strength back. Because my skin was pretty gray when I got home. And even in the back of the car, my grandmother just assumed it was just because I was so tired from the long flight. It was partly true, but in the end, it was because I finally had someone I could miss. Mind you, I was about 19 years old when all this went down. I'm now officially 30. And I've honestly found myself being tested romantically again. My lady told me she's been dealing with some stuff for a while, and because of all that she's been going through, we finally had a conversation, a necessary heart-to-heart that I've been wanting to have for some time, but she apparently didn't have much of the strength for until recently, and she told me she started to become kind of distant, and said that she was preparing herself in case I left, found someone else while she was trying to heal. And I'm not gonna lie, that hurt. That hurt, man. Because even though I wanted to be there, I still want to be there to support her as much as I can. It felt like she was, thought I saw. See, I'm not even able to really put together the words. But somehow it seemed like she felt like I thought of her so little that she could just easily be replaced. And naturally, when you're first in, like the honeymoon stages of a new romance, you're wanting to do anything for your partner, right? You want to be there. You want to, anything they asked, you were willing to do. And I'm still damn near willing to do anything. But because of a time in our relationship where the circumstances were a bit different, and it felt like wanting to be there for her was only going to do more harm than good, but I still wanted to be a part of her life. I got too personally involved with some charity efforts and almost did leave. But the things she said to me when I thought she was processing what was happening, how much she wanted me to just check in, that I could have just checked in on her, that she would have been okay with that would just know I was still there, that she wasn't losing me. That dug deep, man. And even though I may have gotten caught up in the chaos of my own life where I didn't necessarily fulfill that as much as I wanted to, when she started to tell me that she was having issues, again, I tried to do the same. I wanted to be there. Because with her, she goes to tell me that I should be allowed to be free and maybe see someone else. I honestly don't know what it is. Maybe it's some past life connection, for lack of a better word, but with her, I never felt more free. To where the concepts of being intimate and vulnerable, my entire body, with anybody else, my entire body would just seize, like it was preparing to be hurt. With her, it just wasn't there. I felt freer than I had in a long time. I fell for her deeper than I ever had with anybody else. Perhaps to an intensity that was a little bit too much to handle. And it brought up how much I wanted to be better, so I honestly put myself into therapy to try to do that. Because within the last few months myself, I realized that if I'm going to achieve the life that I want, to be the type of person that I want, especially for her, I had to grow. I had to be better. Because I wanted to be the type of person I wanted to be the type of person that she saw in me. And trust me, the person I was would not even be able to do this, to share this. And if she hears this, please don't feel guilty. This is not me trying to guilt you, put you on public blast or anything like that, or however people put it these days. This is me sharing the story because, goddammit, you mean it. You mean more to me than anything else in this world. The things you consider living, me going out, seeing more of the world, doing more of it, I've had more taste of that than anybody else. And I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, without love, not a damn bit of that matters. Sure, it may be a nice distraction, but it does not matter. Without love, life would be meaningless, because in this search for life, to live, it's simple. The answer is love. To make things keep going no matter how hard it is. So to be there for the woman I love, and maybe you can take something of this, ladies and gentlemen. She says she wants to still be very good friends. I'm willing to be that. Not so I can scope the territory to swoop back in. Because without her, life is fucking pointless. And I'm not saying that as a testament of my own inner darkness coming back to me. But it's because I know I would be a goddamn fool to let someone as amazing as her go. Flaws and all. So if that's what allows me to be there, then I'll be there. Because I made a promise to her to support her through whatever it is she needs to do. And God damn it, I'm a man of my word. And ladies and gentlemen, if there is somebody out there you know who is truly suffering, and you truly care about them, and I mean to where nothing else feels right, I know I would be able to power on because I've been through way worse circumstances, been through harder losses. And I'll say this with full confidence that the people I felt closest to in life, most of them are dead. And not they're dead to me because something happened between us. No, they are physically gone from this world. So if you have someone that precious to you, you let them know. You don't ever, ever make them doubt how you feel about them. As much as it may scare you, as much as it may scare them. Because right now that intensity I feel, it scares the living hell out of me. But I know it's part of the path to becoming the better man that I need to be. And to end this show on a high note, are we truly unknown when we realize that at the end of the day, that's all we really want is love, to feel that connection. So let me challenge you gently this time, ladies and gentlemen. If you're lucky enough to have that love, say it. Don't hide it.
We broadcast our thoughts into the ether, hoping someone, somewhere, is listening. But the true cure for this epidemic of isolation isn't just speaking into the void, it's sharing the signal. If this frequency resonated within you, don't let it extinguish in the dark. Follow our journey. Share this message with a world that has forgotten how to listen. I am Dakota Frandsen. And if you're ready to dig deeper into the echoes we leave behind, visit baldandbonkers.net. That is baldandbonkers.net. But this before we vanish back into the static, we must leave our mark. Until next time, keep asking, are we truly unknown?